Hey team, today we're going to review for our Unit 3 test over Chapter 8 and Chapter 11 about the antebellum and the Reconstruction period. So the test is going to be over these learning targets. The test questions are going to be these learning targets. I will rephrase them as a short answer prompt. So there will be 8 questions. Each question will be worth 10 points, so the test will be out of 80 points, and this grade will go on quarter 2. If you recall, at the beginning of this unit, before we did Chapter 8, we took a pre-testing class. That pre-test is the post-test. I still have that pre-test, but the questions were these learning targets rephrased as short answer prompts. For example, identify 2 significant geographic changes in the U.S. from 1790 to 1850. So that's what you can expect in terms of the format of tomorrow's test. Here are my expectations for your test answers as you write them to respond to the prompts that I just said. So you need to write in complete sentences. You need to make sure your writing is in your own words. Include as many relevant and specific details as you can remember to support your answer. So stating the title of an act or stating the 14th Amendment is not sufficient. You need to explain the context of the time period much more, okay? So include details and explain the change, for example, for learning targets 1 through 4. Be thorough in your answer, and that's it. So make sure that you practice tonight applying these expectations. Okay, so your resources that are available to you to review. First, there's this review presentation on Google Classroom. The ones that we have gone throughout this unit are posted online now. I also created a Quizlet for you that is posted also on Google Classroom. Now, this Quizlet has a list of different types of changes for learning targets 1 through 4 and other definitions and terms based on key changes or key events throughout this unit. Now, you cannot simply state these definitions on the test tomorrow, but you can apply your knowledge of these definitions and of these laws and amendments as you are responding to the prompts. There's also the textbook readings for Chapter 8 and 11, both on Google Classroom. You have your notes from Chapter 8 and Chapter 11 that I will collect in class tomorrow. You have a review guide that's in the back of your Chapter 8 notes packet. If you have lost this packet, or maybe you started the review guide and you want to start over, I've posted a 1-page review guide with those exact same prompts on Google Classroom for you. And then, of course, don't forget those 6 strategies for effective studying that we talked about before our founding documents test. I've linked the video and embedded it here if you're interested in refreshing yourself about these strategies. Okay, so for the learning targets, I'm not going to give you the answers, obviously. However, I will tell you and put you in the right direction of where you can find the answers and details to support your responses. So for learning target 1 about geographic changes, look in Chapter 8, Section 3. For learning target 2 about political changes, look at Section 4 of Chapter 8. For learning target 3 about economic changes, look at Chapter 8, Section 5. Learning target 4 about social changes, look at Chapter 8, Section 6. Learning target 5 and 6 is about 2 groups and discussing how they gained opportunities, and then for 6 you have to discuss how 2 different groups lost opportunities. So one group that you can talk about is the Irish from our Irish immigration lesson, and second, your group should be African Americans. So you can look at your resources from our Irish immigration lesson, and then in Chapter 11, look at Sections 2 and 3. When you're thinking about opportunities that these groups gained or lost, think about their access and privileges that they had, and also how these groups were treated by institutions. By institutions, I mean the government, maybe by schools, by the courts, by businesses, things like this. Okay, and then our last two questions will be Learning Target 7, where you'll have to talk about two different problems that occurred in either local, state, or federal government that hurt African Americans after Reconstruction. So for this, you can look at Chapter 11, Sections 2, 4, and 5, and then Learning Target 8, you're looking for two problems within the society or the economy that hurt African Americans after Reconstruction. For this, look at sections 4 and 5 of Chapter 11. For Learning Target 7, the subsection titled African Americans Lose Ground under Redeemer Government, there's a lot of good answers and details in that subsection. You could talk about Jim Crow laws, Plessy versus Ferguson, poll tax, or black codes. For Learning Target 8, in terms of the society or the economy, you could talk about the terror groups like the Ku Klux Klan. You could talk about, in addressing the economy, sharecropping. You could also address segregation in this answer. So that concludes this review presentation. In class today, you first need to watch this video so you can check that off. Then we need to work on our review guide that I mentioned earlier in this video. You can then individually review using the Quizlet. And most importantly, I highly recommend you test yourself. Since you know the test questions, just get out a piece of paper, look at the learning targets, and then kind of do that brain dump exercise and see what you can remember. And then do that over and over again until you're ready for tomorrow's test and you feel confident in your responses. So you can email me if you have questions, or of course ask me in class, and good luck.